a minute after high noon in Jamaica, and on the Bridge 99 FM, we reach out to Jamaican lovers all over the world. That's the purpose of this station, and it's unique. And it's especially sensitive at this time of year, isn't it, where everybody turns their eyes, their minds, their hearts back home. Thanks for joining us. This is The Public Eye. We go till 2 o'clock this afternoon. The Honorable Pearnel Charles is our co-host. I'm Ronnie Thwaites, and it's an open mind with The Public Eye. Thanks for joining us. You can link us on the WhatsApp and text line 876-551-5782 and on the studio line 876-676-4996. Nathaniel Peat, that extraordinary immigrant to the United Kingdom, joins us to talk about the safety box, the ways in which his movement to come to Jamaica after successful introduction in the United Kingdom can help us to overcome some of the problems of youth violence. He's our guest on the first segment of the program. And then on the Global Connection, when we link with Erwin Clare and Ari Jam, a unique kind of link, Dr. Fred Kennedy, who has written a book about his father, Louis Fred Kennedy, one of the early founders of the great Grace Kennedy Company, joins us to talk about that story, to talk about doing well and doing good, to talk about the principles of trust and of confidence and of compassion and of engagement which have characterized that company. We support enterprise, whether it's by the individual, the community, or the company, local or international, on the Bridge 99 FM. So, Mr. Charles, how are you, sir?
Well, how do I look?
You look airy.
So you shouldn't ask me already. You should say, what a way you look, airy.
Listen to me. I have a question for you.
Yes.
Who you carry in the World Cup?
If I tell you the truth, you'd laugh at me.
No, tell me now. No, laugh.
I get very nervous about winning and losing.
Oh, really?
Yes. And I think it's because of the West Indian cricket team.
Yes.
I stopped watching. I just listen to this.
The score and the
scores.
State of play.
Now, everybody was saying Brazil, so it started to shake off Brazil. I went to Coronation Market to buy some cabbage that morning.
Right.
And Brazil was playing, and there was one little person somewhere have a television.
Right.
Mr. Thwaites, I did not know.
Uh-huh.
Women, men, and children leave their
goods on the ground.
And I mean, if I could carry everything, I could take everything.
You could have taken it away.
Everybody went up to see the Brazil match.
Uh-huh.
And then everybody coming down.
Ciao.
Brazil gone home. Brazil gone. They're singing,
Yeah.
Brazil gone home. But because somehow I would support Brazil.
Uh-huh.
As his brother went, I am attracted to Argentina.
Oh.
Not necessarily Argentina, but Messi.
Right.
And so I was a Argentina fan, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I still didn't watch the match.
Really?
No. I am not going to make that thing go into my head. That my blood start to get high and my thing pulse.
Yeah.
So I take a look, and when I hear Brazil have two,
France have two, but Argentina two first, and then France catch them.
Yes. I say, sound good. Then no, when it come down to
penalties,
it's just time to watch, not much more.
No, but
that's the fun. I know. You cannot stop a ball from Messi. Because if you go right, he kick with the left foot. If you go left, he kick with the right foot. And he knows where you're going because you put your head.
Yeah.
So you know him not going to miss that.
Yeah. But I like Mbappe for France.
Yes. Well,
the boy good,
Listen, there was a bit of nationalism, and you have to excuse me, of France.
Yes.
A little bit of nationalism.
Okay.
In the French team.
Yes.
Right? You say that there are only two.
Only for black man. Colonialism come to its highest point.
But most of those boys were born in France.
Yes.
You understand? So the black wasn't because the black, they weren't born in Africa. You understand?
Yeah, but
just
even
like
so,
how the Americans weren't born in Europe.
Understand.
But it was very interesting to see when they went back home, sudden, sad. The president come and said, "Why you guys not smiling? What happened to you? You come second. Francis up there and then hugged them up. I think it was such
he went to Qatar too. For the match, you know.
Yes.
No, I appreciated that. I was sorry it came down to penalties. Because penalties, as you say, involve skill. But at the same time, it is the cut and thrust of the match that really makes a difference. But I want to engage you on a broader point. Based on your Coronation Market experience, hey, you're an extraordinary man, you know. I can't go to Coronation Market because once I go there, the price go up.
Well, I tell you something. Next time I'm going,
call me.
I want me to go because when I go, I say, listen now, just understand one thing. I've been working for all this time. I want a price cut.
Good.
I want
only you could say that.
Well.
But anyway, the point I want to make is Jamaica has adopted the secular religion of football. It used to be cricket, but now it is football.
Yes,
and it affects the market women, them picking them, everybody. If church a keep on Sabbath or on Sunday, and football a keep. Church empty, you know.
Or the pastor better announce.
Well, what happened in my church is that some people came to me and said, listen, now, please go short on the sermon today because I want to go home for what they call World Cup. But Jamaica has become very, very engaged with football. The suggestion that was made that some of the layoff little bit of crime was connected with people in the World Cup is not to be sneezed at. But it indicates what affects the mind, and that is a big issue that you and I often contend with.
I thought you were going to another place, which I think is very sad. Every school is now playing football. And in a way, how the concentration of other subjects seem to be lowering. In other words, I'm worried that there's too much, well, if you don't want to call it too much.
Say it.
You know,
I know where you're going.
The football. And I don't see that in the maths and the English and this and that. Particularly to it's from basic school come up.
You're taking me where I want to go. But it's not only football. It's football and boogie. If you go to the country, as I did this week, to your parish of St. Anne and beyond, every single billboard is about some dance that is keeping between now and the end of the year. Now, of course.
And the way they dress to go on the advertisement bothers me.
Okay.
But you understand that my mother would be unhappy about.
Well, indeed. But the Jamaica is well known and advertises and earns by being a sporting country and a boogie country. Now, there's nothing wrong with sport or with dance, but they have their place. And I want to come to the day where not only are we number one and the Prime Minister can say, look, we're going to the next World Cup in 2024 or whenever it is, 26, and the tourists will flock to come to smoke weed and drink rum and dance till dawn and do the other things that you do in those circumstances. But I want us to excel in other fields as well. I want us to be known as a country that develops that has develops a tradition in science and technology, production.
Could I stop right there and see if you will agree with me?
Yeah.
I feel that the loving, listen to the terms, loving pressure that I had as a boy was because there's a principal, they never call him a principal, headmaster. And that headmaster was so strong in school that every teacher with any problem with any child in her class that she could not control is taken to the headmaster.
Right.
You understand?
Yeah.
And I don't feel that at this time the headmaster is either supported from the above or internally and dominant in school. Whereas some of the boys them could never be flinging rock stone past woman.
Well, this is it.
The woman would go straight into the principal and say,
but that is moral leadership.
Yeah.
That is moral leadership that you speak of, where a person, by the way they presented themselves, right? They were probably earning £2.10 a week, yes, but they presented themselves in a way that they commanded respect. They got respect from the parents, they got respect from the students, and from the community.
All three: parents, student, community.
Okay, so and
above.
Well,
from Kingston,
a very important addition. Now, where you lose moral leadership, then everything becomes uncontrollable.
But Ronnie, let's look what
how you build it back.
Look back at what we have just said. If football is so dominant and it is a tough game, it's a fighting game, right? Where you don't really thump him on them out. You try to trip him.
Yes.
Them say trip him, he can drop.
Yes.
You know, or kick him.
Yeah.
And it feel, but it's a kind of violent.
Well, it involves the pitting of skills, physical skills, and mental skills.
I like how you put it.
Yeah.
But there is also somebody who is set because you may go see me get kicked out, you understand?
Yes.
But I feel I've been crying about many of the guys, many of the men who graduate as teachers are not in the school.
Indeed.
They are in private sector.
Just so our listeners know, less than 10% of the teaching force in Jamaica is male.
Right. And that is wrong.
Of course.
And I'm saying that I am prepared to pay some taxes. If you're going to rehire or get into an association.
Re-incentivize.
Right. Get into a incentivization program with the private sector.
Okay.
Even if they were making those men available 2 or 3 hours per week.
Yeah.
And
but that
a woman just showed me to say, listen, you think any man better than me?
Yes.
The truth is we have some very top class women as principals.
One thing does not negate the other.
Is that, you understand?
Yeah.
But the overall thing is that man dominance is not in the school
or in the home.
Look, some lovely 19 and 20-year-old pretty girls are there to treat these 16-year-old ruffians like...
The single point is, the central point you're making is that human development demands a combination of men and women. And that's what human development requires. That's what you had. That's what I have. That's what hopefully we're trying to give to our families. Now, but my concern is that knowing all of this, indubitable, verified in history, we are doing nothing about it. This Professor Patterson, sir, whose report has been sitting in government and in the public for now 1 year and a half, and nothing has been done. We're not interested in change. We're interested in getting office or staying in office.
Hasn't Professor Patterson's report been handed to somebody in the private sector to manage from the government?
We are told that these people are supposed to be hired, yes? But in the worst of times, when students are recovering from COVID, or supposed to be, after the 2-year absence virtually, yes, nothing substantial has been done.
Well, Mr. Ronnie, the truth is that we have to find another name, because this name is too popular to blame government.
No, Sir.
Government is being blamed for everything.
No, I'm not blaming government.
No,
government control the purse strings, you know.
I can't find any other name to say.
No, but government controls the purse strings
and give the direction.
But therefore, but government alone cannot do it.
This
correct. Is a mistake. The mistake is a fundamental mistake, which I think is both ideological and it is theological, that we believe that change comes from the top down. It doesn't. It comes from the bottom up. The Christmas celebration that we are preparing for, sir, the Savior who came into the world, did not come from the palace. It did not come from the home of the emperor or from King Herod. It came from the base of the society. And the change that we want, the change that makes sense, the change that is inclusive, that is not domineering, but is persuasive, comes from the base of the society. And we who have authority use it to enable ourselves more than it is. We use it to enable others. And this is a fundamental flaw.
Yeah, but it came with power.
Yes.
It came with power.
Yes.
Came with authority. Came with kind of hold up one finger, everybody drop down.
Yes.
Came with one who can beat them out the temple. Came with...
Listen to Pearnel. I love it.
Right? The authority.
Yes.
But don't make anybody tell you that Teacher Williams didn't have the authority in my school.
No, yes.
Don't make anybody tell you that any of us could trouble Miss Parkman in ABC.
Yeah.
And make Miss Parkman say she's going to Teacher Williams up 6th class.
Yeah.
You'll find, teacher couldn't find him and come.
No. Because
so he had the authority,
yes, sir.
He had the power, he had the respect,
but
not only in school, not only among the children and the teachers,
yes,
but even the man outside.
But of course,
know that
so when
Teacher Williams is the boss.
When I hear the president of the Exporters and Manufacturers Association speaking yesterday, Mr. Mahfood, and pointing out, giving his view that the public of Jamaica don't trust the police. Yes? That their authority is questionable. Words to that effect. My heart sinks.
Yeah, but him is sending a wrong signal to him even say the way they've said.
Well,
because you see, there are...
But he's sending unfortunately, he's speaking the truth.
Yeah, but Ronnie, none of us can quantify that.
No, but the
you
point...
You cannot quantify that.
No, but there's too much of it. There's too much of it to deny it because we can't quantify it.
Let me tell you what. There is, because there is some of it. Because whatever, whether one is big or one is small.
Rampant.
The truth is this, that we are worried about that little.
So we ask then, if since we cannot build a nation without family, without authority, which the security forces are supposed to represent, what I want us to do is to concentrate on those important things. Yes, alongside the sport and the boogie, alongside the waste that we are expending of our slender resources. Yes, to keep certain structures going that don't serve us, which takes us to the fact that we were talking about off the air, that the public service is getting more money, but are the people going to get any better service?
Well,
and if not, why not?
Well, since you get into that, this is my profession, right?
Yes, sir.
And I will tell you that what this government has done, if I were there, I would be warning you day and night that you are entering into the middle of the Red Sea.
Yes, sir.
Look here. You're supposed to lay off some people who are not producing.
No.
You are supposed to increase the salary of those who are producing.
Yeah.
You are supposed to pay them before Christmas, although they never used to get paid before the 25th.
Yeah.
And nobody asks who they are. It's not the minister. It is the same civil servants who are preparing the salary for other civil servants.
But does the minister tell them?
They got instructions, yes.
But the minister is the one who instructed them. Why he instructed them to do that? All those impossible things.
Well, okay. So what's the opposite of what you just said?
My view is, first of all, that what we should be doing, I said it, I put it in a resolution in your parliament, sir,
Yes.
that we need a zero budgeting exercise for every ministry, department, and agency of government on a regular basis. You can't do it all at once, but you take a number each year and you look forensically at every line of expenditure, every prospect of income, and you decide whether that fits the realities of the economy and the needs of the society, especially the most vulnerable. If you don't do that, you will continue to do what we have been doing. You and I have been part of it for so long, where the big yellow book comes, yes, nearing $1 trillion of expenditure every year.
Assignment, an amount is assigned to X, an amount
year
is assigned
after
to
year,
Y,
yes, year after year, without any careful examination of the necessity, let alone the efficiency of it. That's the first thing.
Three things: the addition to, the subtraction from, or the production that quantity is given.
Yes.
Which is important.
If Mr. Siaga tried it under pressure in the 1980s, you were there, yes, and it was one of the features that cost the 1989 election.
They threw him out through the window.
Well, sir, no.
Because we cannot unite on good things.
And if the PNP tried it, they would suffer the same fate. So what is it now? That the forces of low productivity, yes, hold the rest of the society to ransom. No, Mr. Charles, there's no future. There's no prosperity if you're a Labourite, progress if you're a socialist. There's nothing that can come out of that. We are architects of our own misfortune.
Why are you attacking me on prosperity and progress? Because I have both.
Progress is not.
No.
Aye, what a life.
I have both.
Tell us when you're ready for us.
But Ronnie, let me shoot one, a little one at you. I don't know that Dr. Clark, one of the highest intellectual...
High regard for him. High regard for him. But I don't think he understands this one.
Well, no, I don't think he has studied the sociology of the Jamaican worker.
And that, same thing
I have spent years and years,
and
Ronnie,
that you
and
know.
I will tell you...
And that you know.
I would tell you I don't go in the way to ask anybody. I've written it. I have done everything.
Yes, sir.
Dictated. Had to withdraw from it.
Yes, sir.
And I'll tell you right now, by next week, you will see some who say their money wrong is the biggest problem.
Yeah.
Some who say they don't get enough is the biggest problem.
Yes, sir.
So,
some say them lose this that them used to get. And them can't do without it. And you know the song is...
Right now it is just that they want the money for Christmas.
Yes, sir.
After that, they will look to see whether the money was right.
Them start saying it already. The nurses start to say, boy, there are certain things that we never took into account. The Civil Service Association look like they want to make war with Mr. O'Neill Grant, their representative. Them say, oh, we never check it out. And when the opposition does what it should do and says, please, as Julian Robinson said to us last week on Public Eye, we want to see the whole thing published so we can understand all of the details, who say no?
Well, let me tell you, you said something earlier this morning. I'm going to remind you so that you don't think it's because you say it. I'm taking it away. I don't think that we can do the whole service one time.
No.
I don't think we have the capacity to manage it, or the people.
Yeah.
Where the same people can manage their own business.
Well,
and then at the end, who's going to look at it?
Well, and then you
what's
see,
the change?
The concern that I have is just so that we're going to end this program on a very positive note. But my concern too is that at the same time as this mix-up is taking place, interest rates are going up. The mortgage rate going to go up, the car loan going to go up, and things are going to be harder for people going forward. And
they are in an attempt to do what?
In an attempt to curb inflation.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, but explain that. But the lady just said to me,
okay,
what you mean by that?
Inflation is when you have too much money running after too few goods.
So what happened?
So
price go up?
That's the biggest tax on the poor.
The price go up?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
But no.
That is where the danger is.
Yes. So I understand the need to curb inflation. Don't make any mistake. But my view is that the consumption pattern, yes, of Jamaica, the things we spend our money on, lead us inevitably towards a high inflation situation or a low wage, a depressed wage situation. So you have yesterday morning in the newspapers, in case our foreign listeners didn't check in yesterday, a demand for a $15,000 a week minimum wage.
Not about you.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
and your colleagues
Yeah.
did not listen to me
Yeah.
and Michael Manley
Say what?
and Hugh Shearer, because we were telling you that I don't know what the let us say 40%
Yeah.
of who paying minimum wage are working minimum wage.
Yeah.
Do you understand what this is?
Yes, I understand that, sir.
So therefore, when you going to ask that it go to 15,
Yes, sir.
some of the people who are paying
Yes.
minimum wage
But
not earning more than 12,000.
yes, sir. But I'm before we break, I am tired of rationalizing hunger in this economy, where we can find a reason, a cogent reason. Nobody can say otherwise than what you did. Where we find a cogent reason to justify the depression of the majority of our people. And I'm obliged to say to you, Chief Charles, that has been the pattern that we have deified and considered that this is acceptable, the best we can do from slavery come right up. And that is wrong.
May I tell you a little thing?
Tell me.
Ronnie,
Oh,
you,
no,
are,
you
you said that
tell
is
me.
wrong. You are right.
Yes, sir.
But to get
So,
from where you are now to clear up
Yeah.
the wrong
yeah,
is the problem.
yes. And
You cannot stop a man from wanting to get more wage.
No.
You cannot stop a man. Him say, listen, I can't produce if the boss don't put it before me.
Yes, sir.
And the boss him can't produce unless he get the
If you have a
job.
yeah, but
It's
very, very complex. But we cannot continue the way we are, which is which is
if we say it the other way. If we continue the way we are, we will continue to be exactly
as we are.
As we are.
Yes. This is the Public Eye on the Bridge 99 FM. Don't think we're pessimists, we talk it straight. When we come back, a ray of hope, Nathaniel Peat of the Safety Box in England, a Jamaican man doing good things there and coming here to do the same. Our guest, soon come. Thanks for being with us on the Bridge 99 FM. This is a Public Eye. Pearnel, Charles and myself interrogating the affairs of the nation. Nathaniel Peat, what a pleasure. Greetings and welcome home.
Yeah, man, at Jamaica right now. Go to the cold weather.
You see what we have done for you. You're not in a cold weather.
No.
And hear what you say. Yeah, man. Yeah, man.
We're so glad to have you, Nathaniel Peat, Chairman of the Jamaica Inspired UK Movement, member of the Global Jamaica Diaspora Council, and Chief Executive Officer of the Safety Box. Talk to us about what brings you to Jamaica this month, apart from the obvious, Mr. Peat.
Well, I mean, I'm here for a project that I was trying to kick off the ground before COVID. Within my bio, which you probably don't know, is I'm an engineer, but my company, Genex, is a solar company, and I've been trying to get Genex down into Jamaica for a number of years. But COVID really delayed that process. So we had an order directly from a client here in Jamaica.
Yes.
And I've shipped some of my Genex solar products down to the ground in Jamaica. Again, there's not many black owners of solar companies around the world. And we are directly in the manufacture of the solar, as well as working with partners to get our products done at a high level. And I've got a client here that we're providing solar energy for. So that's part of the reason why I'm here. But in addition to that, it was also for my other enterprise, the Safety Box youth programs, because
yes, you told us
I
about
recognize the need of helping young people, really, and those that are in crime and violence and within prisons and out in the communities. And so it's mainly a business trip that I'm here for, and that's the purpose of coming down to Jamaica on this occasion.
Remind our listeners here and abroad what the Safety Box is all about.
Yeah, so the Safety Box was born out of the great need to proactively address all the growing concerns of antisocial behavior, violence, low self-esteem, child sexual exploitation, those that are in prison and they're struggling with rehabilitation. When they come out of prison, they reoffend because they're not given the right strategies in prison to deal with that. To support youth out of negative situations and to reintegrate them back into education or back into employment post our interventions. We have had a measured impact of working with over 20,000 at-risk young people in the United Kingdom, as well as having delivered over 35,000 hours over the last 2 years of therapeutic one-to-one support for young people suffering with mental health conditions. And we have worked with over 900 high-risk offenders in prison in the United Kingdom in getting very high statistics, such as reducing violence in one of the most violent youth prisons in the country by 95% in 1 year, which has never been achieved in a British prison before, as well as engaging them both in education and employment, whereby 67% of those high-risk offenders have gone into education, 61% have gone into employment post our interventions, and a number have started their businesses as a result of our interventions. So we are commissioned by the government in the United Kingdom, by the Ministry of Justice, with contracts for the Ministry of Justice working in prison, as well as with the London Violence Reduction Unit, which is the Mayor of London, that has commissioned our service to deliver programs for young people, as well as other police forces around the United Kingdom, in addition to being commissioned by Manchester United Foundation to work even with those young people engaged in around Manchester that have a problem with gang crime but are engaged and are very talented football players, to help them also through that. We formed a lot of big partnerships, Sega, Google, Adobe, in terms of support from those organizations, and the Safety Box is really pushing ahead in the United Kingdom helping to support young people and helping prisoners to engage as positive citizens post their sentences.
Let me ask Mr. Charles now, if there's a program which manifestly and to the approval apparently of a sensible government we trust in the United Kingdom, can reduce incarcerated violence by 90% and can raise positive rehabilitation to over 60%. Yes, and it is run by a Jamaican. Why we not get it here, sir? Instead of do what we do.
Let me ask Pete. Those people you're talking about are young people. What age? What kind of age range? What age range?
Well, in terms of the early intervention, we work with age 9 right the way up to 16 years old.
Thank you.
But in terms of prisons, we work with age 10 right the way to post 18. Like we work right the way up to even adults that are in undetermined sentences within prison. So we work right the way across the range. One of our flagship programs is known as the Aspire Higher program, and this works directly with schools, both with young people that are in school, those leaving school, going on to colleges, A-level level, as well as those that are in prison that are post-18, and also young offenders that are in correctional facilities in the United Kingdom. So we work right across the age range. Although we call ourselves youth programs, we're not limited to youth, and we've worked with many adults. In fact, there's a contract we're doing right now with MOPAC, which is the Mayor's Office for Police and Crime, whereby we're dealing with probation people that have been released from prison, and that is 18 to 25-year-olds, as well as working within His Majesty's prisons, where we have had people that are over the age of 18, right the way up into their 50s and even 60s, in changing mindsets. Because it is not knives and guns that kill people, it is mindsets. And when we have the ability to pivot a mindset, both through trauma-related activities, cognitive processes, business skills, giving them sport outlets, giving them outlets for anger, and teaching them about hormones and even nutrition, and helping them to elevate and giving them self-worth and motivation and confidence, and inspiring them through those who have themselves been incarcerated in prison that have achieved success post their sentences. It is a way of pivoting a mindset. And so this is about a mindset reversal to help them to rise from negative into positive.
You better never go back to England.
Just hold a minute. Let me ask you a question, because Ronnie, I have to ask you, what are we doing with those boys who are not in school and are not at the age where you put them in prison, where do they go here?
When some of them,
Yes.
we put them in Metcalf Street Juvenile Center.
What does Metcalf Street represent in the Jamaican context with account to what Peter
A
said?
juvenile prison.
Juvenile. So we have a school room where these guys have been put as juveniles.
We have a schoolhouse of crime.
But exact. So that's if we had somebody like Pete
Yeah.
to go into the schoolhouse where you have boys
Yeah.
and girls
Yeah.
shadowing under crime over their heads. Because I don't think that everybody in there had a choice not to choose crime.
Uh-huh. Oh boy,
Right?
what a statement.
No.
I thoroughly agree with you, but the government doesn't agree with us.
But
Anyway, I agree with you. But what you're saying, you're looking at the possibilities. So
yes, because what I don't know, Ronnie, I know that when my mother was alive, she used to be able to get some children
Yeah.
from these places.
Yeah.
She always have 3 and 4 of them.
Yeah.
But my mother couldn't do what Pete is saying.
No, but
so there was not an organization that
circumstances were
wanted
different.
300 and 400 students in these schools.
And that me want state
and
of
take
emergency
them.
for.
Huh?
And that me want state of emergency for. Pete, tell me, you're coming to Jamaica with the box?
Yeah, man. I'm coming to Jamaica with the safety box. Now, I have to tell you about, there's this movement because there is a great man that is a pioneer that just put Jamaica on the map internationally, known as Marcus Messiah Garvey. I'm going to say it, when I tell you that the bloodline run deep in terms of service for black people and to ensure the empowerment of people. I meet a powerful woman by the name of Stacy-ann Garvey, who is the granddaughter of Marcus Garvey.
Really?
And when I tell you, she saw the work we were doing with the safety box online, and she basically just hounded me down and said, look, we're doing this work in Jamaica. We're going to prisons. We help people. We're trying to get more things done. We're trying to do lots of things in the prison, and we need support. And, you remember we spoke, a few months ago
Yes.
about the safety box, and
Yes.
they were speaking about getting the safety box into Jamaica.
Yeah.
What I needed credible messengers in Jamaica, whereby we will be able to share our curriculum. We'll be able to share our theory of change model with them in training and assisting them. This has led me now to where now, coming to Jamaica, I have formed a partnership agreement with Stacy-ann Garvey from the Resurrected Garvey Ministries, which is soon to be known as the Garvey Foundation here in Jamaica. And, she's actually on the call with us now, sir. So,
Oh, that's nice.
so I mean,
Welcome, Mrs. Garvey.
she's here.
Yes. Pleased to meet you and welcome home too. If she can hear us.
Good morning. Thank you so much. I'm already home.
Yes, that's lovely. Well, this is great. We're glad to hear. Tell us about the Resurrected Garvey Ministries.
Resurrected Garvey Ministries, the foundation is really about transformation and change.
Yes.
And it's also about, extending rehabilitation from not just in the prison system, but also when they come back into society. Because when you are in the prison system for a year up to about 5 or 10, you are cultured in a way that you're used to, you're familiar with the prison system. But when you come on the outside back into society where you have your own free will, a lot of chances are not given because a lot of people don't believe in the second chance. And what you find is that the reoffending rate gets higher and persons turn back to the crime that they're used to, thinking that that's the only way that they can survive.
Yeah.
When their mindset can be changed, it can be rehabilitated to understand that there is something in me that I have not tapped into as yet. And we just need the right persons to give us the information and to lead us on a path that will lead us to greatness. So that's what we're basically about.
Miss Garvey, let me say something to you. And I'm going to use my colleague here, former constituency that excited me. I went down there one day and see about 100 boys. None of them look like they're going to any school. They're all in what they call shorts and no shirts. I don't know where they could go and sleep or find a place, but they have not yet been imprisoned in the gang thing. I don't know in gang, but they are not yet been caught by police and put in any wire fence. No, it is, in my opinion, a ready reckoner for that sort of language that Pete and yourself talking about. These, they are imprisoned in poverty. They're imprisoned in illiteracy. They're imprisoned with nobody care about them. And then they're imprisoned with night come and they have to find food and find a place to live. And then very few of them hungry.
That is exactly the truth.
Very few of them are hungry and see a glass case with a bread and not one bucket. Very few. Because they said they don't want bucket, they don't want police, and then they'd feel hungry.
Pete,
What?
Nathaniel?
Yeah, I mean, that's true, you know, and part of
Let me just disturb you. I am ready. And Ronnie, I don't have to ask him. We and several Jamaicans, listen to you now, are ready to be mobilized. And if you want to say we should do it ourselves for a long time, well, that's it to the past. Right now, I'm ready to make my contribution, because when I think from where I am coming to where I have reached, not very many of them could be that fortunate.
Ms. Garvey, how are you going to operate in Jamaica? Are you linking with the correctional systems, or are you acting independently of that? Are you planning to move into communities outside of the prison walls, or for the time being, are you going to be within the correction system?
Well, to be honest, we've been operating since 2019 and we've been everywhere. We've been into communities, we've been into the prison systems, we've been into schools, we've been into places of safety, girls' homes, boys' homes, and all of that. Because like Sir Charles said a while ago, you know, there are these boys on the road looking like this, some of them digging out their hand middle. So the reality is a lot of persons are mentally and emotionally imprisoned way before they get to a physical prison. And sometimes it takes them, I know for myself, it took going into a physical institution to get the time to sit down and analyze my life, to realize that I was already imprisoned by so many different things. Rejection played a role. Lack of information played a role. Go ahead, sir.
You were an inmate at one time?
Yes, I was an inmate at the Port Augusta Adult Correctional Center for almost 5 years.
I'm proud of you that you can come and speak of that, and that now you have turned that adversity into something which is redemptive. That is what Christmas is all about, you know.
Why are you looking at me?
No, I because I want.
Why are you looking at me? I was there too.
You're absolutely. But I hope your head changed like her head changed.
No,
you see, a lot of this journey is based upon.
You know that I have changed.
Yes, I do.
And you know I want to join.
Indeed,
in that
positive stuff. But Nathaniel, how can it work? Is this a kind of anecdotal partnership with the Garvey ministry, or is it going to be a sustained thing? How can people associate?
We're going to form a deep relationship with the whole foundation that is going to be formed in both sharing the Aspire Higher program, which is our flagship program that has been proven evidentially to reduce violence and to help mindsets elevate. We are going to be sharing that with the foundation once it is established here in Jamaica. I mean, she has been operational since 2019 as the Resurrected Garvey Outreach Ministries, but it's come to a time where it has to turn into a foundation now in order for a successful partnership, in order for us to then pull the funds down to support the beneficiaries on the programs. So it will be a tangible assistance that we're going to be working with them. I, in fact, visited a child correctional facility, Homestead, in Stony Hill with girls, in fact. And I brought down a reggae singer that works oftentimes with us in prisons in the United Kingdom. And we had an inspirational session for the girls. Again, seeing the impact that came with seeing the impact that Stacy-ann, as a former inmate, a credible messenger, could actually impart to them. We understand and know that we're working with the right type of partner, because most of my team in the United Kingdom, most of my staff members are ex-offenders themselves. And so they have a cognizant understanding of what it is like to be in a negative position, in a negative mindset, which then leads them through the curriculum into a greater purpose in life, turning their pain truly into purpose, to sow seeds of light into communities, to stop the perpetual violence that occurs within our communities in Jamaica. With Jamaicans leading this, with the diaspora's help as well, with Jamaica's help, I'm sure we'll be able to pivot the minds of many young people and begin to save lives, not just from the gun, but from the negative mindset that pulls people into depression, into suicide, and into extreme mental health problems. It is about breaking free. It is about aspiring higher. It is about impact and shining the light within this darkness that we see so oftentimes in Jamaica with so many negative stories. And this is about ensuring that we have the linkage between the Jamaican diaspora and Jamaica, which is the whole purpose of the bridge. So, you know, I'm really grateful for the support of the bridge. And this is really to reach out to the members of the diaspora, as well as those in New York and in Jamaica, to support. Corporate Jamaica to support, you know, private Jamaica to support.
This is where we must spend national security money. This is where...
Ronnie, let me tell you. Please just hold a minute. Let me tell you, Ronnie, something.
Yes, sir.
This is where we need to forget the PNP and JLP.
Yes, sir.
We need to say to... It's not only young people who have that problem, you know. Not only young people, you know. But there are some parents. Right? Who could not help those children to be there, who need to be helped too.
Sure, but we do what we can with those who are at the cusp of the problem. We know
or at the crossroad.
Yeah, and we know also that my experience in education certainly tells me that if you do a good job with the children, with the affected ones, it filters back to the parents. And it's not to say that isn't another problem, but there can be no excuse for spending billions and billions of dollars. Yes. Without proper concern for the rehabilitation of people. Stacy Garvey, Nathaniel Peat, there are a whole set of people listening to us who are saying, make them go on. Some boy in Jamaica or gal in Jamaica and just bad. And you are saying, people might have called you that. Certainly, well, the issue is, do we believe that our people, we can get to the base of their antisocial behavior and make a change by interventions of this sort? Do we believe that?
Absolutely. I mean, absolutely. There is evidence of doing such.
Yeah.
Absolutely, there is evidence. Yeah. And even if you look at Stacy-ann Garvey as an example of that, there is tangibility in what we're doing. Yeah. And the reason why this works is that we are credible messengers. My enterprise does not do any intervention without a university study behind it. I've had the University of Illinois Chicago do evaluations. Birmingham University has done evaluation. I've had the London Metropolitan University do evaluations, again, to pull out the excellence in the delivery and also the evidence of those people moving from a negative mindset. Violence is not a black problem, a white problem. It is not an Asian problem. Violence is a human problem. And where we have a theory of change that can be applied in different cultures, then we have the ability to cause a dynamic shift in how the perception within individuals' minds that these people cannot change. I tell you this, everybody deserves a second chance. And I'm a great believer in the word, in the scriptures, where it says, when I was in prison, you came to me. And so even when there's companies that don't want to even support prison outreach, I need to speak to them to say that, look, this is about reducing violence in the community. Because if you have one of the young people that is in a correctional facility and they come out and they reoffend again with a deeper offense, they stab someone, they slash someone before, but next time they come out, them do murder, the cost of the GDP of the country, the cost of the trauma to the local community is more than the investment that they can put into the young person to help them out of the mental pain that they're going through, to assist them with trauma and to build them up so that they can be productive citizens, either through business or education or some type of trade or skill. carpentry or plumbing or another type of skill set that will help them and elevate them from poverty and from a life of crime. I'm passionate about this because I know that what we do works.
How can we get in touch with you? We promise you on the bridge that we'll be a mouthpiece, an opportunity for you to just do what you're doing now. But Stacy-ann, how do we get in touch with you? People, I know schools, I know groups that would benefit from the kind of approach that you can speak of with credibility, that Nathaniel has the superstructure to support.
So persons can reach me at 876-440-6019, or they can WhatsApp me at 876-504-7179. My email address is resurrectedgministries@gmail.com. Persons can also follow me via my social media pages, Resurrected Garvey or RGM Prison Ministries on Instagram and Facebook, Twitter, and I'm also on Link.
How do you see it working out 5 years' time, Nathaniel Peat, if you have your way?
If I have my way, I would like a very powerful partnership that is now effective as a standard in the most impoverished and in the most needy communities within Jamaica. That is with partners that are able to replicate the initiative, replicate the program, using then those who have benefited from the program whilst being in prison, re-employing them when they come back out of prison so that they themselves are the credible messengers within the community. I'd like to see corporate partners in the same way where we have large entities like I have in England that supports and aligns themselves to the brand. It would be for corporate Jamaica to be directly involved in this as well. Private sector, both medium and large enterprises, because those medium and large enterprises are oftentimes impacted or in the areas of those crime ridden parts of the community. And I would really like to see that to ensure that we become a best practice for the entire region of the Caribbean.
What has been the reaction from, the prison officials or the probation service or aftercare, if they still exist, of any of the official personnel towards your efforts? Stacy-ann, Nathaniel?
So for me, it wasn't challenging at first because most of the persons that are from the Department of the Correctional Services, they actually knew me from I was in prison. And so what you found is that my behavior and my change and my attitude allowed them to say, yes, we can welcome this program inside of our institutions. In fact, I was invited the other day to the BCS Church Service for Corrections Week to be a guest speaker. And so what you found also is that I wrote a book called My Prison Break, which was distributed in the Female Adult Correctional Center, where it has allowed a lot of the females in there to actually come to the realization of who they are and who they can be. And so the response has been great. I've been given the opportunity to go in and speak with them. And so some of the reoffenders some of the reoffending rate in 2 institutions have gone down significantly. And so even when Sir Pete came with me on Monday, he saw where the person who runs the institution said that a lot of the girls that were there have actually gone home. In fact, they have changed how they carry themselves, how they speak, how they behave, and they want to be great ladies of tomorrow. So it has been a really good reception from the Department of Correctional Services. We just have to work a bit harder and get more persons in Jamaica who have influence, where programs like this are concerned, to come in and understand that, listen, all we are saying is give them a second chance.
Look here, a most illuminating interview, and time has run out on us. May we bless you both for the efforts that you're making, and pray for success and support. Nathaniel Peat, Stacy-ann Garvey, thank you so much for being on the bridge and the public eye.
Thank you.
Time for the global connection and linking with our friend Erwin Clare at Ira Jam Radio, the parent, the sister, the brother of the Bridge 99. Erwin, are you there?
Yes, I am, and good day to you and yours, sir.
Thank you, sir. We're happy to have you. We just had a most enthralling interview with with some folk who are really looking at social regeneration for at-risk youth, and we just feel warm, and that's what radio is to do, you know, Mr. Clare.
Man. Yes, sir.
Mr. Clare, were you able to hear us?
Listen, I heard whenever I hear that Nathaniel Peat is going to be on any platform, I don't have to hear the full entirety of his message, because I know he brings positivity.
Well, Ronnie asked me if we're there where we can take away his passport and then we can't leave Jamaica.
Erwin Clare, what
a contribution that can make to the people of Jamaica.
Yeah, but what we must understand is that Nathaniel Peat has been at this for many, many years. He's consistent.
Yeah.
He believes in what he does.
Well,
and I can only hope that he gets the kind of support that is required to make his services successful in Jamaica.
I hope so. And I think that the pressure, if it comes from the base to do more positive things than we have done before, can make all the difference in the world, you know.
Indeed.
That's a key thing.
That's the whole idea.
Well, that's it. What's the mood of the Jamaican and Caribbean population in your bailiwick for this Christmas, sir?
Well, welcoming the influx of sorrel into the marketplace.
Really?
So we want to say congratulations to the sorrel producers in Jamaica. I want to send a big shout out to Farm Up Jamaica, Neil Curtis and his group.
Good.
I went to the Rock recently, and there was sorrel in abundance.
Really?
And
good.
yes, man. And I use that as an example because, you know, as you know, it is always a barometer this year when people go out to look for the things that they are used to doing this time of year.
Yeah.
And especially those of us who are not unable to travel home, we consume the products.
Yes.
And so at the Rock here in New York, which is Restaurant Owners Corp here in Queens, and I'm quite certain at other Jamaican and Caribbean style entities, there's a lot of products from Jamaica and the Caribbean for the benefit of the diaspora.
Excellent.
So tell me something, is that the reason why it gets named the Rock? Because it means Jamaica.
No, you know, I tell you, one of these days, and run it to it, I think I've spoken to him before, Mike Duncan, who is the Secretary General, the President of the UNIA here in New York, Tri-State area. He has marshaled this whole entity to ensure that there's an avenue, a store, a center that brings in products from Jamaica and the Caribbean and Africa for the benefit of the diaspora, for the people, by the people on a global scale.
Well, that's excellent. They can make all the difference. And we need it, and you need it. And Christmas time is special for that, eh?
Indeed.
I'm troubled that the year is ending with these massive divides of viewpoint as to how what is the purpose of living and what social organizations ought to do in the United States. I mean, all right. So the committee has referred to Mr. Trump for criminal prosecution. The right proto-fascists seem to me to be more extreme than before, and the on the left similarly. I mean, where is the great United States going, Erwin, or are the structures so strong that it doesn't really matter? The politics is really entertainment.
You know, it's a tale of two cities, because I am quite certain that what's going on there in Washington has significant emphasis globally and nationally. Yeah. But whilst on the ground, people still have to go out and work to earn a living, to pay their rent, to pay their gas bills, etc., etc. That still continues. Yeah. And they're also exposed to the whole situation of crime and violence too, like everybody else. Yes, Ronnie, that is true. The saga of the Trump saga continues, and it continues to cause havoc, of course. But life goes on. I mean, I'll be honest with you. As opposed to many others who may still continue to be preoccupied, I think the preoccupation here is on the daily living and daily life here in our communities.
Yeah. Well, as well as it might be, you know, given the, well, given the stalemate that I think is at work there, but the Caribbean looks to the United States for many good things. We are concerned about our people there. We want them to advance. We want to have coherent relations, and frankly, many of us are shocked and disappointed at some of the extremes of public discourse and of inaction as well as action that takes place there, you know?
True. And that is absolutely true. And by no means is it lost on us. But at the same token, though, at the grassroots level that we have always stressed to our people, where the importance of our existence is real, we have to continue to make inroads there. Yeah. We have to continue to step up to the plate. We have to make sure that we're building institutions within our communities for our sustainability. And that includes, are we buying homes? Yes, Caribbean people continues to buy real estate and are owning properties. Are our children involved in school and we're making sure that our children are doing well? Yes, we are doing so. Are there those that are falling by the wayside? Yes, but that is part of the American dream, one would say.
Now don't forget. There are those out there who are also making sure that those of us who are here are assisted in many ways.
Without a doubt.
Education,
and that's a duality
food,
of our purpose. And that's a duality of
clothing.
Our purpose. Yes, that's a duality of our purpose.
Let's give the figures. I saw an estimate that this year the remittances, which come largely from the United States, but also from the United Kingdom and Canada, are although they had trended down, will reach $3 billion this year.
Yeah, and
can you imagine what the Jamaican dollar equivalent would be if we didn't have that?
But this again now, and let's look at the arrivees at the airport. Yeah. And I was very rather interested when I heard the Minister of Tourism said recently the importance of Afro Americans on the tourism, because in that figure is largely many of our children. Yeah. Or the descendants of Jamaicans who were born here. Yeah. And so the importance is that you're going to see a lot of Jamaicans, and if they're not already home for Christmas, and let's think about that remittance that they take in with them.
Sure.
There's a nationalism that spreads from there that make everybody still either want to come and see who is here, where they come from, or what is happening.
Oh yes.
One of the things that we want to do in the new year, you see, on this station, on this program, certainly with your collaboration, is to highlight the successes of people who are of Caribbean origin and who have distinguished themselves in their new environment and also had retained a connection with Jamaica. We noticed, for example, Pearnel, you might have seen that Justice Tuller in the United States has now been made Chief Justice of Ontario. Yeah, Canada. He's former Prime Minister Portia Simpson Miller's cousin.
Oh yes.
Well, she have only a cousin, you know. She was, but this one is a blood cousin, this gentleman, and to me it's extremely important.
It's very important.
Yes.
And truly, don't you have a lot of cousins?
Yes, man.
You know that she want me to tell his cousin.
And I know that he never. And he threatened to come on her side anytime Liber had trouble him tomorrow. So yes, Erwin, we must try and do that, you know, because we want to build people's confidence.
Without a doubt, and I think when you look at it, we have been doing just that. I think what we need to do is do more of it. Yes. And there's so many folks working within who have stayed within their lane, who have doing some great things. Yes. You know, when you realize that this year, for example, and the stories are out there, the Jamaican woman who contributed a significant contribution to her alma mater. You know, I think that's Dr. Rosemary Bailey it was, indeed. Right? All right? No. Many Jamaicans are just doing about her this year, but she's been doing work in Jamaica for a long time. Yes. You know, so it's not everybody wants to be in the limelight. But at the same token, making significant contributions to Jamaica. And that is why the importance of building out the diaspora is so important, you know. And I look back at it, Ronnie and Mr. Charles. I am gravely disappointed with government's attitude to building out the diaspora engagement. I'm not, and I'm speaking of somebody who has dirt under his nails and have been involved in this situation. I'm not satisfied at the level at where we are as to what we could have accomplished. That, you know, there are too many low-hanging fruits left hanging in the tree, and we're not picking them. And I think that it come 2023, we need to see those who are charged with the responsibility of diaspora engagement coming out of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade to step up to the plate. We're not feeling it. We're not feeling it.
Well, listen.
Well, sorry, when the Prime Minister was there the other day, he engaged a number of our brothers and sisters abroad, and he made the same point. And we need to see those of us who are here now put that together, because it's a massive contribution.
Indeed. But Mr. Charles, the Prime Minister is one such person. There are persons who are charged in the government with diaspora engagement. We're saying we're not feeling them. No, but in other words, it may be high time that this responsibility be taken under the ministry, under the office of the Prime Minister.
Hold on. Everything is under the office of the Prime Minister. I want to make a point related to this. Which industry that provides an aggregate income in foreign exchange of $3 billion a year would not have a ministry to itself? Which other industry, whether it was tourism, mining, anything else? I ask you, there is need for a full-scale apparatus that deals with the interests of the diaspora. That's one proposal I'm making for your consideration, gentlemen. Secondly, it is time. There's a lady in government that keeps talking about constitutional change. I'm very conservative when it comes to that. But we have to remove that section 50, what is it? That bars a person from holding legislative office in Jamaica because they happen to be a United States citizen, but allows a Canadian, a Pakistani, and everybody else. That is foolishness. Let's be very direct on that now. I made a proposal for that in Parliament. It was never heeded. 2. 3. It is time that there be regional diaspora representation in the Senate of Jamaica, in a reconstituted Senate. These are things that we can do now. These are things that would be hugely symbolic, and they would make a difference to the relationship between diaspora and the Rock. How you say, Mr. Clare?
And that's exactly what we're talking about. When you heard what Nathaniel Peat had to say today, right? These are some of the components that would fall under direct responsibility. You see, as it is right now, that aspect of the diaspora is part of what is called a foreign trade and foreign relations ministry. All right, it is placed there. I believe, and you're absolutely correct, this is something I have spoken on before, that this needs to be given more attention. We keep talking about the potential of the diaspora. It's now time to engage it and make it work better for Jamaica. And I think there are many people in the diaspora who are aspiring for such. And by the way, with or without this infrastructure, people are still contributing to Jamaica. What we're saying here, let us make it more efficient so we can leverage it and capitalize on it even more. But I think we're just about on a break. Gentlemen?
Yes, we are due for the break. When we come back, Dr. Fred Kennedy talks about, Grace Kennedy talks about his father, talks about Jamaican men doing well and doing good. Soon come.
We welcome you back to our discourse in our global connection with our family in Jamaica. Christmas time, of course. We welcome you back as we join Ronnie Thwaites and Pearnel Charles, Bridge 99 FM, 93.5 here in the New York tri-state area.
Thanks so much for the connection, Erwin. We reach out to our Jamaicans everywhere in the United States and elsewhere in the world who will rebroadcast this session. And welcome, Dr. Fred Kennedy. Welcome home.
Thank you very much.
I introduce Erwin Clare of Ira Jam in New York to you if you haven't met before.
Well, Sir Fred.
Yes, sir.
Let me just divulge something to Ronnie Thwaites and Pearnel Charles, because I'm going to throw some things here now. Listen to this now. We talk about St. Anne. We talk about Discovery Bay. We talk about York Castle. We talk about the class of 77 that you're at an event this year, sir. And by the way, you have to send a big shout out to them because they're listening right now.
So my wife taught you at your castle?
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes. At some point our paths did cross, sir. Yes, and I met with her this year when I was at the class of 77.
Isn't that something?
Listen to me, the world is small. And Fred Kennedy.
Oh my Lord! Well, I hope she's listening, but I will certainly pass on the message.
Yes.
Okay.
And I don't need to
Yeah.
introduce you to the venerable, honourable Pearnel Charles Senior, do I?
I think we may have met Sir Charles.
And you know that I come from the Dry Harbor Mountain.
Oh my goodness!
I am a Senton man.
Holy Lord.
Really?
I'm the one left out
Isn't
now.
that-
Fred Kennedy, welcome.
We leave Ronnie out
Thank you
of
very
it.
much.
Fred Kennedy has written a book entitled Firstborn. It's the biography of his father, the late Louis Fred Kennedy, one of the strong foundation members of the Grace Kennedy Group. Fred Kennedy, tell us about the book. What motivated you to do something as intimate, but indeed as national as to write this episode?
Can I show the cover?
Sure.
Yeah. This is how it looks like. He was this was taken on his 50th birthday, which he always claimed was his prime of life, in his late 40s and mid 50s.
Yes.
I guess, Ronnie, it came from a desire to recognize him for his contributions to Grace Kennedy as the company was entering its centenary year. So I started it about 3 or 4 years ago, and some friends of mine encouraged me. He was a very shy man, so in some ways, I mean, he was very aggressive, but he didn't really seek the limelight. So he probably would be embarrassed by all the praises that I have given him in the book. But to me, I had a close relationship with him as a son, and he certainly showed himself to be, in my mother's words, a giant of a man in his time. I think he's one of those perhaps unsung heroes, and there's so many in Jamaica who need, I think, stories to be told about.
This is more than a personal story, however. This is a story, Erwin Pearnel, about national development. If you look at, as I have done, at a yearbook of the Chamber of Commerce in 1940 or 1950, yes, and you ask yourself the various companies that advertised themselves there that were providing goods and services to Jamaica, you see Grace Kennedy. But when you think of who is still existing now, 50, 60, 70 years later, there are very, very few, you know. What made the difference, Fred Kennedy? Why has Grace lasted?
Well, that was the subject of our lecture, as you know, the Grace Kennedy lecture, which we had on October 20th. And I think Doug Arain and I had done a lot of research, and some of the conclusions really for that are a number of things. There's obviously it has a lot to do with leadership, but the moral fiber of those leaders, I think, in insisting on some of the sort of telltale characteristics of Grace Kennedy. My dad, for example, in 1947, when Dr. Grace retired, he instituted some initiatives that were extremely progressive. Among them was profit sharing. I'm not sure where he got the ideas from. Even in America, those things were very unusual. After the war, some companies were beginning to issue employee shares, but Grace Kennedy certainly was at the forefront of being progressive. He offered free medical care for his employees. He instituted superannuation schemes. All of these things, I believe, characterized Grace Kennedy and defined its nature over the years. So there was that side of it. On the other side, there was a tremendous resilience and a desire on the part of the leaders of the company almost what they call a dangerous innovation. They were constantly looking for ways to take risks business-wise. He laid out a tremendous amount of capital. He even had to borrow against the company, for example, to start Kingston Wharves Limited. And he went in with the Matalons in the 1950s and 1960s. And today, of course, we have one of the most modern ports in the Caribbean. So he began Kingston Wharves. That was a huge development. So there is that balance of leaders that are guided by a moral compass, I think, and keep a focus on core values. And he never let go of those. He was extremely steadfast. Yeah, go ahead.
No, there was a statement made that what's good for Jamaica is good for Grace. And I've sensed in the book, and I've sensed in my looking over the transoms at the company over the years, is that there has been a definite desire and a sentiment to identify with Jamaica national goals.
Yes, I believe so. And you know, when he started off as a young man, and looking back through the decades that he was most active, the 1930s, the 1940s, he went through that whole struggle for adult suffrage. He worked side by side with Bustamante and Norman Manley. He went through all of those years, and of course 1950s and then into independence. But in the early days when he started out, you can imagine what Kingston was like in the 1930s. And we have the case of the 1938 riots. He came head to head with Bustamante, but you know what? He learned from all that. Those were the days when people were getting like 9 pence a day, and there were no labor unions in very, very few in 1938. But you know what? He understood that was important for Jamaica's national development, and he worked with both of those leaders to establish. And then later on in the 1950s, he worked with Hugh Shearer to establish the Port of Kingston Joint Industrial Council, which was an amazing thing where the Shipping Association of Jamaica, which he was the chairman of, represented the employers, and he and Hugh Shearer worked hand in hand to ensure that no longer would workers not be protected. And there's some amazing quotations found in the Gleaner and so on during the 1950s. 1952, I believe, he and Shearer began the formation of
so what
of
you
the
mean?
Joint Industrial
You
Council.
mean that capital and labor could actually find common cause for the benefit of both?
No, don't say it that way. Capital and labor was finding cause. Common, more than common. That's a capital cause. It shifted away somewhere, because if you look back on the waterfront with Kennedy, Shearer, and the group,
Yeah.
what was being done for the workers, the waterfront workers, were not being done anywhere else.
So
We were not able to spread it nationally.
So it begs the question, why? What was the element that meant that these disparate, some would say perennially hostile elements, could find some common cause to the benefit of both interests?
But there were not enough of them. And so what survived? Grace, separate. That if you look on what has survived,
Yeah.
and still have good leadership,
Yeah.
the new generation is not going that way.
Erwin Clare, why?
They're not uniting together.
As I listen to this, I have to kind of move it like forward to where we are now. And why I say that, because I look at it, the foundations that were established to the fact where in today's marketplace we can see Grace as a brand, as a pronounced brand globally. And really and truly, it was not via their marketing or their promotions. It was through the people who benefited from Grace. Because in the diaspora today, we look at Grace as one of the shining accomplishment of a people. And so you find that some of the biggest ambassadors of marketing and promoting grace are the people who benefited from it and understanding of what you gentlemen are talking about, the foundation that was set. Because to put a capsule on it, Sir Fred, when we can see at the oldest stadium in the United States, the Ben Franklin Field at the University of Pennsylvania, that you can go in there for a pen release, and the premier brand that when you walk in you think you're at the National Stadium, it says Grace.
Really?
Well, that's a testimony to what you're talking about, Fred.
Wow.
Well,
That's phenomenal.
Didn't know that
and
at all.
The Grace branding coincided actually with independence.
Yeah.
Independence gave these companies, I think, a new mandate. It's almost as if it came into its own, because prior to 1961, Grace Kennedy were really wholesalers. I mean, they traded in counter flour and sugar and these things. But with the brand, the Grace brand, which came out in, I think the first advertisement was Vienna sausages in 1961. It coincided with a whole shift in actually in the retail trade too, because the 1960s where we saw the advent of supermarkets and everything. So the whole thing evolved into a kind of a national purpose, and Grace, the Grace branding became as truly Jamaican as it went global, and that was also a vision he had from very early on. He saw beyond the borders of Jamaica. He established offices in Montreal, in Rotterdam, in the United Kingdom from the 1950s. And it was really Jamaica going abroad from that early. And that's another point I was going to make, Ronnie, is that it's that kind of innovation, I think, that had a lot to do with the steadfastness of these companies, allowing them to survive the 100 years.
Let me ask you something, Mr. Kennedy, because while you're speaking, it says to me that you are not only interested in rice and flour distribution and this and that, but people was at the center.
Yes. Yes.
When you look at what the waterfront produced, the workers at the waterfront were far above
always
all the workers, right?
Yes.
And Shearer and whoever was there, I remember Tassie Kelly was down there. When they were able to work together, it was people was in the center. In other areas, the products were more important than the people. And so many people who are overseas now connected with Grace and others, right? They came out of that revolution. There were people who were prepared, not only nationally, but those who went abroad were able to think and get back.
And to continue that, when we come back from the break, gentlemen, Fred Kennedy, Irwin Clare, Pearnel Charles, I want to reflect on another element. Jamaica is a low trust society, unfortunately. Grace Kennedy has built itself, if I have reflected on Fred's work about his father and my own knowledge, on the basis of trust as perhaps the first and invaluable principle, not only of business, but of national cohesion. Is that so? And if it is so, can we scale that up? Is there a future for Jamaica which takes off from that model? This is a Bridge 99 on the Public Eye. Soon come. This is the Bridge 99 FM, linking with Ira Jam in New York. Fred Kennedy is our guest. He's written a book called Firstborn about his father, Louis Fred Kennedy, one of the founders and architects of Grace Kennedy and Company. It's a personal story, it's a corporate saga, but it's more than that. It has national significance. I ended on the line about trust. One of the things that comes across is that the people like Louis Fred Kennedy, the Grace family, who were his partners earlier, followed up by people like Carlton Alexander, who Pearnel and I were talking about in the break. Their word was their bond. whatever they said, it never had to go down on paper right away. You just knew that you could have reliance on that, and it seems to be a characteristic that the company prizes greatly. Different from opportunism, different from a buck at any cost. This has national significance, Fred Kennedy.
I believe so. I believe Pearnel would probably, and you would probably be able to answer that better. Obviously, it's at the root of any kind of relationships that are going to endure. Trust, of course, was a foundation. Yeah, and he even recognized that when he gave his speech in 1972 on the 50th anniversary of Grace Kennedy, he said, "I want you all to know that this company was based on the trust of two individuals, Dr. John Johnston Grace and my father, Fred William Kennedy." So he understood that the company had to do with the trust that these individuals had. Could I, when Pearnel was talking, something came to mind. There was a tribute made by Donovan Anderson, who was a young secretary at the time, and he in an interview that I had with him, he said some words about my dad. I was wondering if I could read those.
Of course, go ahead.
Yeah, it reminded me when Pearnel's comments just
resonated.
Reminded me of that.
Yeah.
He said, "Your father loved people. When he graduated from university, he told me he could have gotten a job up there with any one of America's top companies. But he wanted to come back to Jamaica. He wanted to employ 1,000 individuals. That was his goal. He wanted to achieve before he died." Actually, he doubled that. It was 1982. And he told me that the people who worked for him, specifically in the warehouse, he said, they were more important to him than the bags of flour that they moved around. And that is why he brought into the company free medical care, for it was completely free for employees of Grace Kennedy and Kingston Wharves, and also group life insurance. And that is why he brought in employee shares as well. When Michael Manley came into power, he turned to me and he laughed and he said, "Not Manley, young Anderson. I am the original socialist, not Michael Manley."
Well, let me tell you
That is
something.
rich history, you know.
Let me tell you something.
That's a beautiful thing.
It's a lovely one.
Let me tell you something that I don't know if you guys know this. These companies survive because they selected certain people to come after them.
Yeah.
The president and in charge, what's his name?
Don Webby.
Don Webby. Don Webby was sitting beside me in my first cabinet appointment in government. And he told me he was going to be there only for 3 years. I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "I've been assigned to assist you guys, but in the third year, I will leave the cabinet to go back
To Grace Kennedy.
And what Grace has been doing is identifying and training future leaders inside there, so that then you have the master that you call his name.
Carlton Alexander. At Seprod?
Alexander.
Carlton Alexander.
Carlton Alexander. Now, when you see these type of men, and even on the other side, even Fox, they had a different, they were creating a Jamaica. We don't know that we have united to create that Jamaica within Carlton Alexander and Fred Kennedy and all of these guys. They created their own situation, medical, education, and all of this. But we didn't follow their footsteps.
That's what I'm about to mention to you now. We have too much rich legacy.
Yes.
To be where we are today, not capitalizing and making our industry and our economy better. We have too much rich history on which to build on and benefit from. Because as we were speaking here, somebody texted me in, Sir Fred, to say that the whole aspect of trust, grace, because one thing that every Caribbean, every Jamaican people do before they start eating is to say their grace. They also have a great deal of trust in grace stocks. So they invest in the company. So these are the telltale signs. Why is it then that our leaders can't emulate some of these aspects of our daily lives?
You would like me to tell you some of what are the reasons, and it might be sad to say it, but a number of situations in this country allow some of the would-be developed grace to travel abroad. And that's why we have the diaspora, have some of our good guys. If they were here...
You mean we've exported our wise men and women?
We don't know if we exported them.
You might be right, but...
We actually deported them.
No, well...
No. Not a good term.
No, but the truth is, they found better situation abroad and they left us.
Yeah, and
our situation caused them to leave. If we had been able to unite them, the Kennedys and the Fox and the Alexanders and the Webbys in many other areas. Look what an announcement by Webby last 2 weeks or 3 weeks ago. Was it going to be an expansion? Not for grace, but for Jamaica development and a Jamaican company.
Well, the truth of the matter is that those who may have left the country also find themselves in position where they have learned a lot of skill sets externally, are now waiting to come back in to contribute. So therefore, we have a significant contribution from the remit of those persons.
The last thing that you have just said there is what is still holding Ronnie and myself together, right? They have learned, they have seen, and they have been able to mobilize and come back. Can we accept them? Can they put up with what we have here now?
Well, it seems to me that what we need is the stories of people who have done well in difficult circumstances, in evolving contexts. And that's what Fred Kennedy has offered, I think, in his book.
Indeed.
And that's important. Fred,
it's a good read.
Where can we get your book?
It's available on Amazon, and the publisher's Friesen Press, Canadian company.
Yes.
And they also have a website. There will be a launch in Toronto on January 8th at the Jamaican Canadian Association.
Great.
And David Betty, who is the president of that association, will be speaking, and also Lincoln Downer, the Consul General of Jamaica at Toronto, will also be there. And hopefully, if I can get a shipment of books to Jamaica, we will have a launch in Jamaica in March.
Sir Fred, you're disappointing me, Sir Fred, because the largest marketplace for grace products is right in the tri-state area. So we expect to have a launch here at our Jamaican consulate.
Wouldn't that be amazing?
It will be amazing. It will be amazing.
Christopher Chaplin is a classmate.
Yes, in Philadelphia. In Philadelphia. We want it in New York.
You may not have a launch, but you are going to have books and books and books.
Well, this is important.
Listen, and we must
I
also.
think you are on a WhatsApp with my wife, so I can send a message to you.
Listen, Fred Kennedy, thanks so much for the effort. Thanks for keeping the Jamaican flag flying, and thanks for giving us the stories of a great Jamaican, your father. Much obliged today. We encourage people to get the book to rebuild the national spirit. All the best to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
A pleasure.
Sure.
Erwin Clare.
Well, it's Christmas. Indeed, my glad bag was, because it's just interesting that it was just this past October that he and his wife were special guests at our anniversary there for class of 77 from York Castle. So it's great.
I didn't know that history at all.
Indeed.
Before we close, I want to engage the two of you. I wrote a piece this week, reflectively, because in my writing and on programs like this, we point out, as we must, many things that we could do better, many deficiencies. But at Christmas time 2022 and moving into 2023, I am so grateful to be a Jamaican. Yes, when I think of what's taking place in Afghanistan this morning, where women are being prevented from going to university,
Indeed.
where they get arrested and beaten up if they don't cover the whole of their face. Yes, where there are parts of Africa, unfortunately, where a woman's clitoris is cut out to see if that would make her pure. Yes. Now we go to the opposite extreme and flaunt our sexuality irresponsibly. But my God, nothing of that barbarity do we have here.
Indeed.
In the midst of the crisis of brought about by COVID and all of the world conditions. Yes. Thank God Jamaica is not Haiti.
You want to say something to you?
Yes, sir.
Listen carefully.
I'm listening as you come closer to your microphone.
You call it barbarity, right?
Yeah.
Many of those action and those people are at what they consider the highest level of their own development. They don't see it as barbarity. They see it as healthy life.
Maybe so, but I hope you're not being tolerant with all that.
We are intolerant of it.
We should be.
Yes, but if you look at where they are, you will see that probably they have a different view.
No doubt they do.
All right, but gentlemen,
Erwin, go ahead.
Let me tell you this, because it's Christmas around here, and this is our last program before Christmas, and I hope you guys got my Christmas list. That's my important statement. But anyway, I just want to say on behalf from our family here at Ari Jam 93.5 to our family at the BridgeNation in Jamaica, I want to say Merry Christmas. I hope it will be a peaceful and safe one for you all. We are thankful for being part of your discourse here on a Wednesday, and we look forward to many more. All the best to you, both gentlemen, to you and your families.
Thanks very much, Irvin Clare, and to your audience and all who make this program possible. And we affirm the oneness of Jamaicans everywhere and anywhere. Honorable Pearnel Charles, I hope you
there you have
indeed have a very peaceful and happy Christmas, sir.
I propose to.
Yes.
And I want to wish our friend in New York
all the best for him too.
Best.
Yes.
But for you, Ronnie.
Yes.
I must tell you, I sus on you.
Yes.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Because people are asking, how on God's earth could you be sitting with and working beside Ronnie Thwaites? And I will tell you my answer publicly. If they didn't ask it, they hear my question. I have been so proud, so comfortable working with you that I want to wish you what I have never had a chance to do. A Merry Christmas to you and your family.
Thank you so much, sir.
And
all
hope
good wishes.
Hope that you never change.
No. Eh? And we're looking forward to it.
And my little man from Redding say, Mr. Thwaites, change your mind.
No, not so. We find common cause, which all Jamaicans must do. Thanks to LaFane, thanks to Romy, thanks to Jeff, thanks to Peter John, and to all those here at the Bridge 99 for the public eye. We give way to Nikki Z, and do join us next week to wrap up 2022 and move forward with confidence, with love, and with national spirit to 2023. Till then, take care.
Take care.